in February when Iran's military was essentially decimated. So are we seeing frustration here? Are we seeing the writing on the wall?
So, of course, that's an interesting, number on day 100 of this war. So it is, these baddies like those numbers, right? So on the 100th day of the war, it began again.
Regime is just going to keep doing this. Well, the president of the United States, President Trump, is trying to de-escalate. He said the Iranian strikes didn't hurt anybody. So obviously Iran isn't doing nothing. They're basically doing the things that they did before, just on a lesser scale, because their ballistic missile inventory has been completely decimated, as well as their ability to produce those ballistic missiles. But obviously at this point, Iran is going to do what they do best. And then I've got a little global roundup section for you as well. We're going to hit.
All right. So now this is what is coming from Israel. And it sounds like Israel has launched. And they're going after targets in Iran as we're speaking. So at any time, we could see, some targets being hit in Iran.
Iran is launching ballistic missiles towards Israel. Israeli Air Force jets are heading out to strike inside Iran.
So he is saying, under, who has told him, how does he know? But now this was, I think, a few hours ago when this was released. Yeah, 3 hours ago. So should have probably, gotten some explosions in Iran about this time. I don't know what exactly the distance to, from Israel to Iran, but I don't think it's that long. But we'll see. It should be, like I said, if they did launch when this gentleman said, then we should be seeing some explosions. All right, if we don't see explosions, then that means they didn't launch, right? And are they're seeking targets, and maybe that's why the jets launched. That we're going to look for targets, and then they call in strikes. I don't know. So we'll see.
At this moment, is the war in the Middle East returning after senior officials in Iran escalated their tone towards Israel and the United States, and after Tehran warned of a painful and decisive response. For the first time since the ceasefire, Iran launched missiles towards Israel. Today, just a few hours ago, the IDF struck in the Dahia neighborhood in Beirut, Lebanon's capital, for the first time since Trump's ban on striking there. In Iran, they threatened, "Look to the skies." The United States gave Israel freedom of action to strike Iran if it launches missiles towards Israel. And in Israel here, it was announced explicitly that we will respond to the launches from Iran with full military force. So after days of restraint, and against the background of Trump's ban and the continued launches towards the north, Prime Minister Netanyahu and Defense Minister Israel Katz announced that the Air Force struck Hezbollah headquarters in the Dahia, their headquarters in Beirut, Lebanon's capital. And according to reports, Israel updated the United States before the strike. The target was an apartment where commanders of the terrorist organization Hezbollah were meeting. I'm Yair Pinto, with me is Mati Shoshani, and we're here on Boots on the Ground with a special emergency report. We bring you the whole truth about what's happening here in Israel, and also the whole truth about what's happening in our neighborhood, the Middle East. And this is a special live report right now, today, June 7th, 2026. So let's begin. In these minutes, dozens of ballistic missiles were fired from Iran towards northern Israel. The attack comes after the Air Force began striking in the Dahia neighborhood in Beirut, which is the capital of Lebanon. In a joint statement on behalf of Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and Defense Minister Israel Katz, It was stated, in accordance with the directive of Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and Defense Minister Israel Katz, the IDF has now struck Ter headquarters in the Dahya district in Beirut. This is in response to Hezbollah fire towards the Israeli territory. And according to sources, the United States administration was updated in advance about the strike. In addition, the Hezbollah headquarters that was struck contained the planning center for an attack inside Israeli territory. Israel informed the United States that Hezbollah is still attacking towards the north.
All right, so it sounds like the United States was informed of this attack in Beirut, in Lebanon. So it was targeting, Hezbollah commanders in apartment buildings, sounds like. Did they get them? Remains to be seen. But regardless, this was something that Iran said that if Israel continued to strike, and if they struck in this specific area, obviously, why? Because Iran knows that that's where their baddies are, right? That they've been funding to strike Israel. So Israel struck back before they get struck, and I guess part of the peace agreement, according to in the thoughts of Iran, was no more attacks on Beirut. So this is just allowing the terrorist guys, Hezbollah terrorists, to formulate and plan and get ready for more strikes. It's not smart. They have to be eliminated. You cannot allow the Nazis of the Middle East to continue to stay in power and expect that they're not going to do evil, right? So this is frustrating from my point of view, and I think probably from a lot of other people's points of view. At some point, we will have to take them out. Just like we're seeing, this is like another piece of World War III, I believe, that's getting ready to kick off again. And we have another piece of World War III, which is kicking off, or has kicked off, in Ukraine and Russia. So Russia is very methodically eliminating the Nazis from Ukraine. Ukraine, you will not see any inch of Ukraine not occupied, in my opinion, by Russian troops at some point. Because they, in the past, in the 50s, after World War II, when they came in and they hammered the hell out of the Nazis, and were a major, part of destroying the Nazi empire in Germany. And part of that empire was in Ukraine. So when they came into Ukraine, they defeated the Nazis in Ukraine. Ukrainians were part of the Nazi German, Gestapo and, their army and so forth. So when Russia came in, it took them years, but they did clean out completely the Banderas group, the Nazis in Ukraine. They sent 100,000 or more, maybe a couple 100,000 to concentration camps, and that's where they were going to live the rest of their lives. Stalin cleaned it up, and then you had the next commissar, right, of Russia, the next Russian leader. What was his name? Kaczynski, not Kaczynski, but something like that. So he comes in and releases all those Banderas Nazis, because he was Ukrainian, and let them go back into Ukraine, and they formed up. And this time, Russia will not stop until they have completely eliminated all of the Nazis in Ukraine, right? So same thing, they'll talk peace, but they know that they're giving, their demands are not going to be met by Ukraine. Ukraine wants all the